Imagine, if you will, a scene unfolding beneath the scorching sun of Luxor, Egypt. Here, buried for millennia under shifting sands, scientists have stumbled upon a secret, a find that perhaps ancient hands sought to keep hidden forever. Over 1,000 intricately decorated stone blocks, remnants of a once grand temple dedicated to a female pharaoh, lie scattered and broken. The question echoes through time. Why was this magnificent temple so ruthlessly destroyed? And who was this woman whose memory they tried to erase? Her name was Hatshepsut, and today she stands as one of Egypt's most remarkable pharaohs. Yet for centuries, history seemed determined to forget her entirely. Hatshepsut reigned during the illustrious 18th dynasty, from approximately 1479 to 1458 BCE. Her legacy is etched in ambitious construction projects, triumphant military campaigns, and prosperous trade expeditions that brought wealth and influence to Egypt. Remarkably, she was one of only 4 women in Egyptian history to claim the title of pharaoh. Another woman wouldn't ascend to such power for another 1,500 years. The legendary Cleopatra. The tale of how Hatshepsut ascended to the throne is perhaps the most captivating part of her story. Traditionally, the line of succession favored men. In Egypt, as in many ancient societies, the throne was almost exclusively reserved for male heirs. Thus, when Pharaoh Thutmose I had a daughter as his firstborn, it presented a significant challenge to the established succession. Years later, Pharaoh Thutmose I passed away. The crown then passed to Thutmose II, who ruled briefly before leaving the throne to his infant son, Thutmose III. In this intricate web of royal lineage, Hatshepsut was the young pharaoh's stepmother. Initially, Hatshepsut served as an advisor to her stepson, Thutmose III, as he was far too young to govern independently. However, after 7 years, she made a bold and unprecedented move. Seizing the reins of power, she declared herself Pharaoh of Egypt. This was no mere power grab. Hatshepsut understood that to maintain her rule, she had to project an image of legitimacy, presenting herself as a rightful king. In a daring act, she adopted the full royal regalia, including the iconic false beard traditionally worn by male pharaohs. Statues and hieroglyphs often depicted her as a man, adorned with the pharaoh's kilt and headdress. However, this wasn't about concealing her true identity. Experts believe she never truly attempted to hide her gender. Inscriptions on her statues often included feminine titles, such as Daughter of Ra, and grammatical structures that combined both male and female terms, such as His Majesty, herself. This suggests that while she embraced the traditional symbols of kingship, she never fully abandoned her identity as a woman. But she needed to go further to solidify her position. Hatshepsut masterfully crafted an elaborate origin story to legitimize her claim. She proclaimed that the god Amun himself had visited her mother in the guise of her father, Thutmose II, and that she was his divine daughter. This was no small claim. Pharaohs were viewed as deities on earth, and by aligning herself with Amun, the king of the gods, she strengthened her right to the throne. Temple carvings depicted this divine birth, with Amun presenting Hatshepsut as his rightful heir. These narratives were not mere mythology. They were powerful tools to ensure her position remained unchallenged. Hatshepsut also adopted a new name, Mayat Kare, which translates roughly to "Truth is the soul of Ra." The concept of Mayat was central to Egyptian beliefs, representing order, justice, and divine balance. Pharaohs were expected to uphold Mat to ensure the stability and prosperity of Egypt. By calling herself Mat Kare, Hatshepsut reinforced the idea that she was a legitimate and rightful ruler, divinely appointed to guide the nation. Her reign was truly a golden age. Hatshepsut led Egypt into an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity, launching massive building projects and restoring temples across the kingdom. Her most famous achievement was the construction of her magnificent temple at Deir el-Bahri, an architectural marvel carved into the dramatic cliffs of Luxor. Hatshepsut initiated one of the most ambitious construction programs in ancient Egyptian history, commissioning monuments, temples, and towering obelisks to immortalize her reign. It's believed that she continued the construction of the Avenue of Sphinxes, a grand processional road lined with statues leading to the Karnak Temple, For many, her crowning architectural achievement was the towering obelisks she had carved from single pieces of granite. One of these, weighing over 320 tons, as much as several Boeing 757 airplanes, still stands today as a testament to her ambition and power. Beyond her building projects, Hatshepsut expanded Egypt's influence through trade. She dispatched a daring expedition to the mysterious land of Punt, believed to be modern-day Somalia or Eritrea, bringing back exotic riches such as gold, ivory, and aromatic resins. Her fleet of ships sailing the Red Sea marked the first recorded trade mission of its kind, establishing economic ties that would benefit Egypt for generations. Yet, despite her undeniable success, a dark chapter unfolded after Hatshepsut's death. Her successor, Thutmose III, the stepson who had been overshadowed by her rule for so long, took a drastic and vengeful step. He ordered her name to be erased from history. Her statues were defaced, her inscriptions chiseled away, and her achievements systematically suppressed. It was as if he sought to obliterate her very existence, to rewrite history and claim the glory for himself. Imagine the landscape thousands of years ago. What we now perceive as the colossal pyramids of Egypt were, in their nascent stages, perhaps nothing more than isolated rocky hills, serving as rudimentary quarries. Picture the scene. Ancient engineers, driven by ambition and ingenuity, extracting massive stones from these formations. Over generations, as different masterminds took the helm, these humble quarries were transformed, stone by painstaking stone, into the awe-inspiring pyramids that dominate the skyline today. Now, before dismissing this notion as mere fantasy, consider this. The geological record does, in fact, reveal instances of isolated hills. Perhaps this theory, then, holds a kernel of truth. Regardless of the precise methods employed, whether involving the construction of immense ramps or the implementation of ingenious work schedules, one undeniable fact remains. The pyramids have indelibly marked both history and our collective imagination. Speaking of ancient Egyptian enigmas, consider the colossal, unfinished obelisk, a silent testament to a civilization's ambitions frozen in time. How, we ask, was this monolithic structure shaped? Some propose that the ancient Egyptians, with relentless effort, employed handheld pounders to painstakingly carve the stone. But one expert offers an alternative perspective. By examining the patterns left by the shaping tools, a peculiar detail emerges. The walls of the trenches surrounding the obelisk exhibit a remarkably uniform pattern, an unlikely outcome if achieved solely by human hands wielding simple tools. These horizontal striations, the expert argues, are more consistent with the marks left by a tool that operates intermittently, pausing in its work and leaving its imprint upon the stone. Envision a tool rocked rhythmically against the trench walls, clearing away debris and preventing the trench from narrowing. Such a technique might well leave distinctive horizontal striations where the tool pressed against the sidewall. Could this suggest the use of technology beyond the capabilities typically attributed to dynastic Egyptians? Adding further intrigue, a renowned Egyptologist unearthed a collection of core drills during his expeditions. Although the drill bits themselves are now lost to time, his collection includes core remnants crafted from limestone, alabaster, and even granite, each a testament to advanced techniques. Yet these monumental constructions represent only one facet of the ancient Egyptian genius. They were also, remarkably, the inventors of the handheld mirror, that everyday object we use to scrutinize our reflections. But these were not mere utilitarian objects. These mirrors were often adorned with intricate inscriptions and elaborate figures, transforming them into works of art. The Egyptians, it seems, possessed a keen awareness of their appearance. They understood the importance of personal hygiene and cultivated an image of timeless elegance. In their pursuit of a dazzling smile, they even invented the toothbrush and toothpaste. Dental problems were prevalent in ancient Egypt, and their smiles were not always as radiant as they desired, as dentistry was not their forte. Perhaps their focus was diverted by the monumental task of pyramid construction. Nevertheless, their ancient toothpaste recipes were remarkably effective. One such concoction called for rock salt, mint, dried iris petals, and pepper. When tested by modern dentists in the 21st century, this ancient formula proved surprisingly effective. Ground ash also featured in another recipe for a tooth cleansing paste, although the absence of mint did little to freshen the breath. And so, the ingenious Egyptians devised the world's first breath mints. They crafted tablets from heated spices such as cinnamon, binding them together with honey. Let us now turn our attention to the realm of home decor, Egyptian style. They elevated ornamentation to an art form. While the concept of decorating furniture originated in Mesopotamia, the Egyptians refined it, embracing vibrant colors of ink and developing papers of varying weights. And what of those cozy area rugs that grace our homes today? The Egyptians, utilizing the versatile papyrus plant, pioneered their creation. The Egyptians also possessed a penchant for knickknacks. They adorned their homes with an array of small figurines depicting cats, dogs, and people, crafted from materials ranging from simple sun-dried mud to the opulent gleam of gold, a reflection of their owner's wealth. The Egyptians were deeply connected to the land, understanding that clean water was vital for their crops and livestock. They devised ingenious inventions and techniques to ensure the fertility of their land and the health of their plants. They pioneered the use of ox-drawn plows, employing two distinct types, heavy and light. The heavy plow, a formidable instrument, carved deep furrows into the soil, while the lighter plow followed, fluffing the earth in its wake. But their ingenuity did not end there. After plowing, the Egyptians. Imagine, if you will, the dawn of civilization in ancient Egypt. Farmers, their hands calloused from labor, would meticulously prepare the earth. They'd break apart the hard-packed clumps of soil, readying it for the life-giving seeds. Row upon row, they'd carefully sow their crops, pressing each seed firmly into the prepared ground, ensuring contact with the life-sustaining earth. Then, in a practice seemingly counterintuitive, they would drive their livestock across the freshly planted fields, effectively sealing the furrows. This seemingly destructive act was, in fact, a crucial step in ensuring the seeds took root. But all this backbreaking work would be for naught if the life-giving seeds were left to wither under the scorching sun, as dry as the Sahara itself. That's where the ingenuity of Egyptian irrigation came into play. Their mastery of water management was so advanced that other cultures, including the Greeks and Romans, recognized its brilliance and eagerly adopted their techniques. Now, let's turn our attention to another marvel of ancient Egypt, its awe-inspiring architecture. These people were far more than just skilled farmers. They were also master builders, capable of creating structures that would stand for millennia. They constructed elaborate canal systems, ingeniously designed to transport water to distant farms and villages, turning arid landscapes into fertile breadbaskets. And these canals weren't merely functional. They were often adorned with beautiful structures, transforming them into picturesque waterways. Imagine strolling along a canal, the sun glinting off the water, lined with ornate buildings and lush vegetation. The pharaoh Ramesses II, often called the Great, was a prolific builder, leaving his mark on the landscape with numerous ambitious projects. One of his most breathtaking creations is the temple complex at Abu Simbel. This incredible structure was meticulously designed so that, twice a year, on specific dates, the rising sun would penetrate deep into the temple's inner sanctum, illuminating the statues of Ramesses and the gods. And let's not overlook the corbel arch, a crucial architectural innovation. Without this ingenious design, we would be deprived of some of the most impressive structures in the world, including the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Egyptians possessed an innate understanding of engineering and construction, allowing them to build structures that defied gravity and stood the test of time. They erected grand halls and inner sanctums that inspire awe and wonder even today. Some of these temples even served as astronomical observatories, aligning with the stars themselves. Now let's journey back almost 5,000 years. The year is 2550 BC, and we find ourselves in ancient Egypt, witnessing the dawn of an age. Here, under the scorching sun, the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza begins. Humankind would later learn to build soaring cathedrals and towering skyscrapers, but it was here, in ancient Egypt, that monumental architecture truly began. Even modern scientists are baffled by the sheer scale and precision of these pyramids, built with tools and techniques that seem impossibly primitive by today's standards. It's no wonder that the Great Pyramid is recognized as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It's also the oldest of these wonders, and the only one that still stands proudly in the 21st century. Building something so massive, even with today's technology, would require immense cooperation and resources. But the Giza pyramids weren't the first pyramids ever built. That honor belongs to the Step Pyramid, constructed around 80 years before the Great Pyramid, in 2630 BC, for King Djoser. While it wasn't initially intended to be extraordinary, it ultimately became a truly impressive structure. It consisted of 6 stepped layers of stone, rising to a height of 204 feet, as tall as a 19-story building, making it the tallest structure of its time. But it wasn't just a pyramid. It was part of a larger complex of buildings, including courtyards, temples, and other structures. In ancient Egypt, belief in the afterlife was paramount. Everyone, especially the kings, wanted to ensure they were well prepared for their journey into the next world. This is why the pyramid complex was meticulously stocked with objects used in everyday life. The complex included the pyramid itself, along with a palace, temples, and other structures. These buildings held many of the things the king loved and might need in the afterlife, including furniture, food, and gold vessels. After Djoser's reign, building pyramids became a common practice, but many of these projects were never completed. It typically took about 20 years to build a pyramid, but many rulers reigned for shorter periods. In total, there are over 100 pyramids scattered across Egypt. The most famous of these are the Great Pyramids of Giza. The first and largest of the Giza pyramids was built for Pharaoh Khufu around 2550 BC. Originally, it stood at an imposing 481 feet tall, equivalent to a 40-story building. The second pyramid was built for Khufu's son, Pharaoh Khafre, around 2520 BC. It's slightly shorter, standing at 471 feet, about the height of a 39-story building. This is the pyramid that is guarded by the famous statue of the Sphinx. Sphinxes, with their lion's body and human head, were built to guard important areas. This particular Sphinx is believed to have the head of Pharaoh Khafre and faces the sunrise, protecting his pyramid. The Great Sphinx is one of the world's largest and oldest statues. Originally, it was painted red and had a nose. Traces of the red pigment can still be seen near its ears, but the exact date of the nose's disappearance remains a mystery. For a time, the Sphinx was buried up to its shoulders in sand, hidden from view. Fortunately, in the early 1800s, an adventurer with a team of 160 workers excavated it. The third pyramid of Giza, built for Khafre's son Menkaure around 2490 BC, is the smallest of the 3, less than half the height of the Great Pyramid. It originally stood at 218 feet tall, about the height of a 20-story building. The pyramids are carefully aligned with the cardinal directions, and their sides are believed to symbolize the rays of the sun, connecting the pharaohs to the solar deity Ra and ensuring their eternal life. Imagine a world without maps, without even the simplest compass. Yet, in this world, the ancient Egyptians, millennia ago, embarked on a project of unparalleled precision. They aligned their colossal pyramids with uncanny accuracy, guided only by the stars themselves. They weren't guessing, they were using the constellations, those distant beacons of light, as their celestial compass. Originally, these pyramids weren't the weathered stone structures we see today. Picture them gleaming, sheathed in smooth, polished white limestone, capped with a shimmering apex of gold and silver, reflecting the sun's radiant glory. It was a dazzling sight, a testament to the power and ingenuity of this ancient civilization. But as time marched on, these pristine surfaces became a tempting quarry. Later, pharaohs and rulers, driven by their own ambitions, stripped the pyramids of their limestone casing, repurposing it for their own grand constructions. Now, consider the sheer scale of the undertaking. Scientists estimate that the Great Pyramid alone is composed of approximately 2.3 million individual stone blocks. Each of these blocks weighed, on average, more than a ton. That's the equivalent of a modern-day rhinoceros. And some were even more immense, behemoths rivaling the weight of an African elephant. Let's not forget the context. This was 4.5 millennia ago. There were no internal combustion engines, no cranes, no power tools. The Egyptians didn't even have steel. Their most advanced metalworking relied on copper. How then did they manage to move, lift, and assemble these colossal stones with such precision? Even today, the exact methods employed by the ancient Egyptians remain shrouded in mystery. Astonishingly, no detailed records have survived to illuminate their construction techniques. Some speculate that this secrecy was intentional, a deliberate effort to safeguard their knowledge and prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Contrary to popular belief, the pyramids weren't built by slaves or forced laborers. Archaeological evidence suggests that the builders were skilled artisans, highly organized, and well compensated for their efforts. They were housed in a purpose-built temporary city near the construction site, a thriving community with its own infrastructure and leadership. Experts believe that each pyramid complex required a workforce of around 20,000 people and took approximately 2 decades to complete. This was undoubtedly a national endeavor, with resources, food, and essential supplies flowing in from all corners of Egypt. Yet, even with this level of support, the logistical challenges were immense. How did they quarry the stones, transport them across vast distances, and then lift them into place with such accuracy? One prevailing theory suggests that the stones were transported down the Nile River on barges. However, the journey from the quarry to the construction site presented an even greater hurdle. It's believed that the Egyptians used wooden sleds to drag the massive blocks across the desert sands. By carefully controlling the moisture content of the sand, they could reduce friction and make the task of pulling the sled significantly easier. It's estimated that a team of 10 men could move a 1-ton block with relative ease using this method. But then comes the most perplexing question. How did they lift the stones to such towering heights? Archaeologists have uncovered traces of ancient ramp systems dating back to the pyramid building era. It's likely that the Egyptians devised an ingenious system of ramps and levers to maneuver the stones into their final positions. The most widely accepted hypothesis involves a series of ramps that gradually ascended the sides of the pyramid as it grew taller. Workers would have hauled the stones up these ramps on wooden sleds, inching them closer to their final destination. However, this is just one possibility among many. Other theories propose that the ramps spiraled around the pyramid or were even constructed within the pyramid itself. The truth, it seems, may forever remain elusive, a testament to the ingenuity and enduring mystery of the ancient Egyptians. They crafted a puzzle that has baffled experts for millennia. Intriguingly, the interior of the pyramids is surprisingly sparse. The vast majority of the structure is solid stone, with only a limited amount of open space. But let's venture inside the Great Pyramid of Giza for a brief glimpse. From the entrance, 2 passageways diverge, one descending, the other ascending. The descending passage leads to an underground chamber, a space intended for a pharaoh's final resting place. However, in this case, Pharaoh Khufu desired a more elevated location for his burial. Khufu's sarcophagus resides within the king's chamber, accessed via the imposing Grand Gallery. Below the king's chamber lies the queen's chamber, a misnomer as it has no known connection to any queen. Sadly, these chambers are devoid of hieroglyphs, their walls bare and unadorned. To witness the artistic and historical richness of ancient Egyptian culture, one must explore the decorated chambers, where intricate depictions of daily life and religious beliefs come to life. These texts provide invaluable insights into the ancient Egyptian language and grammar. Unfortunately, the treasures that once filled these chambers have long since been plundered by tomb robbers. From the king's chamber, several tunnels extend into the unknown, their purpose a subject of ongoing speculation. The pyramids are riddled with passageways, chambers, and hidden shafts. For decades, scientists have deployed small robots equipped with cameras to explore these uncharted spaces. These robotic explorers have even uncovered a hidden chamber adorned with hieroglyphs. Yet, despite these efforts, much of the pyramids remains a mystery. There are no blueprints, no detailed construction plans. The ancient Egyptians have indeed created a puzzle that has defied solution for 4,500 years. Recently, scientists have begun using advanced X-ray technology to peer deeper into the pyramid's structure, hoping to unlock its secrets. Imagine standing at the foot of an ancient marvel, a structure so immense it seems to pierce the very sky. But before we admire the finished product, let's journey back in time, to a world where the secrets of trigonometry were being forged in the scorching desert sun. Forget the bewildering symbols and confusing formulas of your school days. Here, trigonometry wasn't an abstract concept, it was the very foundation of civilization. We find ourselves on the construction site of the Great Pyramid of Giza, a mere 9 miles from where Cairo will one day rise. The year is approximately 2580 BC. The air crackles with the energy of thousands of workers, their sweat mingling with the sand as they toil under the watchful eye of the pharaoh. Before us, a colossal stone block weighing a staggering 2.5 tons rests upon a wooden sled. A team of 8 men strain against ropes, inching the massive load forward on a series of rollers. The principle is simple, reminiscent of the rollers beneath a modern supermarket conveyor belt, yet the scale is almost incomprehensible. Imagine, if you will, that the ancient Egyptians used an estimated 2.3 million such blocks to construct this single pyramid alone. And this block, this relatively lightweight block, is dwarfed by others, some weighing up to a monstrous 15 tons. But where did these colossal stones originate? Most were quarried from the surrounding Giza plateau. A seemingly straightforward task, perhaps, until you consider the granite blocks, ferried over 500 miles to this very spot. In an era devoid of railways and highways, the Egyptians harnessed the power of the mighty Nile. Consider this. Researchers speculate that the Egyptians ingeniously dug a canal, a watery artery connecting the Nile directly to the pyramid construction site. They patiently awaited the annual flood season, when the rising waters would lift the heavy stone blocks, allowing them to be floated with relative ease to their destination. A masterful blend of engineering and natural forces. But the river only took them so far. How did they then lift these enormous stones onto dry land, stacking them layer upon layer to create the towering pyramid? Did some forgotten technology, some oversized crane assist them? The answer, it seems, lay in a more pragmatic approach. A worker gestures towards a massive ramp that spirals around the pyramid's rising form. This ingenious structure, resembling a mountain road winding its way to the summit, allowed the workers to gradually haul the stone blocks upwards. A direct ramp, leading straight to the top, would have been far too steep, rendering the task impossible. Scientists estimate that an incline of no more than 8% was manageable. Thus, the ancient Egyptians extended the ramp, encircling the pyramid in a gradual, manageable ascent. Of course, these are theories, educated guesses, based on the evidence we have. Some researchers even propose that the ramp lay hidden within the pyramid itself. The exact method of construction remains shrouded in mystery, a secret guarded by the sands of time. And speaking of guards, our gaze shifts to the enigmatic figure that stands sentinel over the Giza Plateau, the Great Sphinx. But Sphinx, it turns out, is merely an alias, a stage name concealing the statue's true identity. Translated from ancient Egyptian, its real name is Horus in the Horizon, a reference to the Egyptian deity of the sky. The mysteries surrounding this ancient monument deepen as we notice a man approaching with a bucket of paint, adding a touch of color to the Great Sphinx. Incredible as it seems, researchers have discovered traces of vibrant red pigment near its ear, a testament to the durability of ancient paints. Standing directly before the Sphinx, we crane our necks, gazing upwards at its imposing height, a staggering 66 feet. Resisting the urge for a quick selfie, we notice something remarkable. The Sphinx appears to be perfectly aligned with one of the lateral faces of the Great Pyramid, as if deliberately positioned at the center of a giant triangle. Indeed, the Sphinx sits precisely in the center of the pyramid's lateral face, a testament to the mathematical precision of the ancient Egyptians. A pyramid, we recall from our school days, possesses 4 lateral faces and a 5th, the base, which remains hidden from view. The Sphinx holds one final secret, its age. While scholars generally agree that Pharaoh Khafra commissioned its construction following the completion of his father's nearby pyramid, the exact timeline remains a subject of debate. Consider this fascinating fact. Cleopatra, the famed Egyptian queen, lived closer in time to the invention of the first iPhone than she did to the construction of these very pyramids. A humbling reminder of the vastness of history and the enduring legacy of the ancient Egyptians. We see thousands of people around, working hard to build the pharaoh's dream. Let's journey back in time, not to a pharaoh's tomb, but to the very construction of one. The question arises, how many individuals were involved in this colossal undertaking? A Greek philosopher once speculated that a staggering 100,000 laborers toiled on these monumental structures. While that figure might seem plausible given the sheer scale, modern science struggles to corroborate it. Contemporary Egyptologists estimate a more realistic workforce of around 30,000. Of course, we all remember Indiana Jones having a go at least on the silver screen. But even he arrived late to the party. While Egyptologists have amassed considerable knowledge about the pyramids, mysteries still linger. The challenge lies in the limited available evidence, forcing them to rely on informed conjecture to reconstruct the building process. Imagine the scene. First, a team of engineers arrives, meticulously selecting the ideal location and undertaking precise measurements, hence the need for advanced mathematics. Next comes the arduous task of procuring the necessary materials, those colossal stone blocks we mentioned earlier. Once boats deliver these blocks to the pyramid's base, the workforce springs into action. Operating in smaller teams, at least 2,000 workers would be constantly chiseling and carving. It sounds like a typical construction site, doesn't it? And in essence, it was, only set thousands of years in the past. It's truly astonishing what the ancient Egyptians accomplished with mere copper and stone tools. Now visualize the completed pyramid before you. But is it the same pyramid we observe today? Why does it seem to gleam brilliantly under the desert sun? Shouldn't it be a dusty, yellowish hue? The answer lies in the fact that the ravages of time and human activity have stripped away the original outer layer of stones. Skilled artisans meticulously polished these blocks using only stone and sand, resulting in a flawlessly smooth and reflective surface. On the day of its completion, the Great Pyramid of Giza stood as a perfect triangle of light, its polished sides acting as enormous mirrors, reflecting the intense Egyptian sunlight. It was a dazzling sight. And that shimmering object at the pyramid's apex? That's gold, of course. The capstone, known as the pyramidion, was sheathed in sheets of gold. Predictably, these were among the first stones to vanish. Before returning you to your classroom, let's make one more stop. We're off to the British Isles. And no, Stonehenge isn't our destination. Instead, we find ourselves at Newgrange in County Meath, Ireland. Scientists believe that the ancient inhabitants of Ireland constructed this stone monument around 3200 BCE, predating both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid of Giza. The function of this circular mound at Newgrange remains as enigmatic as that of the Great Pyramid. Estimates suggest that over 220,000 tons of loose stone comprise the structure, and they are not simply piled randomly. The deliberate arrangement of the stones renders the structure water-resistant, which explains how Newgrange has endured for so long. Makes you think about investing in that waterproof phone case, doesn't it? And just like that, you're back at your school desk, but the day's math lecture is the furthest thing from your mind. You're captivated by the grandeur of the Egyptian pyramids and pondering whether we have anything comparable today. As it turns out, modern engineers share your admiration for the Great Pyramid. Consider the glass pyramid gracing the main courtyard of the renowned Louvre Museum in Paris. The San Francisco skyline wouldn't be complete without the 48-story Transamerica Pyramid. But Las Vegas takes the concept to the extreme. There, you'll find the Luxor Hotel, so immense that it ranks as the third largest pyramid on the planet. And what stands before it? A replica of the Sphinx, naturally. It towers at 110 feet, exceeding the height of the original. At Giza, by 2 stories. Everything truly is bigger in Vegas. Most people are aware that the pyramids served as elaborate tombs for pharaohs, intended to ensure their safe passage to the afterlife. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, was erected for Pharaoh Khufu. However, what's often overlooked is that this entire pyramid-building craze originated with the step pyramid of Djoser, approximately 4,700 years ago. This colossal structure was commissioned by Pharaoh Djoser, a ruler from Egypt's third dynasty. It ascends in 7 distinct layers, reaching a height of approximately 200 feet. While we now perceive it as a remarkable architectural feat, for the ancient Egyptians, the step pyramid of Djoser represented a grand experiment, a trial run to refine their construction techniques before embarking on even more ambitious pyramid projects. Achieving new heights is exhilarating, but the true mysteries lie beneath the surface. Within this pyramid's subterranean labyrinth, a network of tunnels. Imagine traveling back in time to ancient Egypt, to the vast and mysterious complex of Saqqara. Here, amidst the sands of time, lies a structure that continues to baffle archaeologists and historians alike. The step pyramid of Djoser. But it's not just the pyramid itself that holds secrets. Surrounding it is an enigmatic feature known as the dry moat. This isn't your typical defensive ditch. We're talking about a continuous trench, a colossal scar on the landscape stretching up to 164 feet wide and nearly 2 meters in length. Picture a rectangular shape carved out of the earth, encircling the pyramid like a protective embrace. Its depth averages around 65 feet, a staggering excavation. Now, consider the sheer volume of earth and rock that had to be removed to create this immense moat. Experts estimate that it would be about 10 times the volume of the step pyramid itself. For a long time, the prevailing theory was simple. This was a quarry, a source of stone and clay for building the pyramid. It seemed logical enough, but as we delve deeper, the picture becomes more complex. The trench's dimensions, too narrow and deep, are impractical for efficient mining. Its layout doesn't align with established ancient Egyptian quarrying techniques. And here's a twist. Sections of the trench even feature rocky ceilings, rendering them virtually unusable as a quarry. Another intriguing theory suggests a spiritual purpose. Perhaps the dry moat served as a sacred space, a gathering place for the souls of nobles destined to serve the deceased King Djoser in the afterlife. Niches carved into the walls seem to hint at this spiritual function. However, most researchers believe this purpose likely emerged later, long after the complex's initial construction. So, what was the true purpose of this monumental moat? In 2020, a researcher proposed a compelling idea. The trench may have been designed to collect and manage water, particularly after torrential rainfalls. Consider the location. The moat sits in an area vulnerable to flooding from runoff water cascading from the nearby plains. This could also explain why the trench wasn't used for burials until much later, when the climate became drier and less prone to inundation. The plot thickens as we realize the trench appears to be part of a larger, more intricate hydraulic system within the Djoser complex. Imagine a network of carefully carved compartments interconnected by tunnels, all working in harmony. These compartments likely functioned as a water treatment system, where water flowed from one chamber to the next, becoming progressively cleaner as it moved along. Now here's where the connection to the pyramid itself emerges. The Djoser complex boasts a series of underground shafts. Some researchers speculate that water from the moat's deep trench may have been used to power a hydraulic lift system. Envision a colossal water-powered elevator capable of raising the massive stones needed to build the pyramid. It's a concept akin to a volcano, but instead of lava, water provided the immense lifting force. Picture a vast, deep hole at the heart of the pyramid site. Within this hole, a massive wooden platform, like a gigantic raft, could move vertically. When workers needed to lift a heavy stone, they would flood the hole with water. As the water level rose, the wooden platform would ascend, carrying the stone skyward, like a colossal water-powered elevator. Upon reaching the desired height, workers would slide the stone off the platform and into its place on the pyramid. The idea is that water, cleansed and filtered by the moat system, would flow into these shafts. A massive float, possibly crafted from wood, would rise as the water filled the shaft, hoisting the stones to the necessary height for construction. Once the stone was in position, the water would be released, lowering the platform back down to await the next stone. This ingenious hydraulic lift system could have been a game-changer, significantly accelerating the construction process and reducing the reliance on sheer manpower. It's as if the ancient Egyptians were already embracing the principle of work smarter, not harder. However, skepticism remains. Some experts argue that the area surrounding the step pyramid of Djoser couldn't have accumulated enough rainwater to sustain such an elaborate hydraulic system. A counter-theory suggests the existence of a nearby lake in ancient times, replenished by rainfall, which could have supplied water to the complex's hydraulic system. Yet, no ancient Egyptian texts mention such a lake. So, for now, it remains more of a tantalizing what-if scenario than a confirmed reality. Now, let's consider the sheer effort involved. While this water-based method might seem to ease the burden of lifting massive stones, some experts argue that constructing the hydraulic system itself would have demanded even more backbreaking labor than simply relying on good old-fashioned manpower to move the blocks. And remember, the step pyramid of Djoser is relatively small compared to later pyramids. The stones used in Djoser's pyramid weighed around 660 pounds each, significant, yes, but dwarfed by the multi-ton blocks used in the pyramid of Khafra, where individual stones could weigh 2.5 tons or more. If this intriguing water lift theory is ultimately disproven, we're still left with the fundamental question: how was the step pyramid built? To understand that, we have to go back to the beginning, to the original architectural plans. Initially, Djoser's tomb wasn't intended to be a pyramid at all. The original plan called for a simple mastaba, a common tomb structure in earlier periods, a flat-roofed, rectangular building with sloping sides. But once the initial mastaba was completed, the architects decided to expand upon it, adding layer upon layer. They continued adding tiers, each smaller than the one below, until the structure reached 6 distinct levels. It's highly probable that they raised those colossal stones using ramps, a far cry from a water-powered elevator system. The step pyramid of Djoser remains shrouded in mystery. Further research is essential to fully grasp the construction methods employed and to confirm whether this hydraulic system even existed. However, the very idea of using water to aid in the construction of the pyramid adds a fascinating dimension to our understanding of ancient Egyptian ingenuity. It serves as a potent reminder of the builder's remarkable cleverness and resourcefulness, harnessing the power of the natural landscape and the force of water to erect one of history's most iconic monuments. Imagine, if you will, the year 1850. French scientist Auguste Mariette journeyed to Egypt in search of ancient manuscripts, but fate had other plans. He stumbled upon the head of a sphinx emerging from the sands. Clearing away the dunes, he realized that the sphinx guarded the entrance to a subterranean complex. Months later, he finally breached the entrance to the Serapeum of Saqqara. Within its depths, he discovered colossal granite sarcophagi containing the remains of 64 bulls. Even today, scientists marvel at the technological prowess of the ancient Egyptians, who managed to transport these enormous boxes. The Serapeum, constructed around 3000 BCE, served as an underground tomb dedicated to the sacred Apis bulls of ancient Egypt. It comprised a long corridor, almost 500 feet in length, flanked by massive stone chambers on either side. Some of the sarcophagi weighed as much as 50 modern cars, each crafted with astonishing precision, boasting perfect 90-degree angles. These sarcophagi were adorned with intricate hieroglyphs and carvings, narrating the lives and significance of the Apis bulls. Today, 24 sarcophagi remain. In ancient Egypt, Apis bulls held a revered status, linked to the deity Ptah. Egyptians believed these bulls embodied Ptah's spirit and wisdom, aided the pharaoh, and protected the people. Priests meticulously searched for specific markings on young bulls to identify the chosen Apis. These markings could include a white triangle on the forehead, symbolizing divine light, a shape resembling a vulture's wing on its back, and a scarab shape beneath its tongue, representing rebirth. If a bull possessed these signs, it was deemed chosen by Ptah and treated like royalty. The selected bulls resided in a special temple in Memphis, the city devoted to Ptah. They received the finest care and offerings from visitors seeking their blessings. Upon the death of an Apis bull, it was honored with elaborate mummification rituals. When Mariette entered the Serapeum, he observed traces of rollers on the gallery floor and discovered 2 horizontal wooden winches, each equipped with 8 levers. Later, Other explorers noted the presence of double rails. The burial chambers were situated lower than the hallway floor. To position the sarcophagi, workers filled the chambers with sand, allowing the sarcophagi to be rolled in. They then gradually removed the sand, carefully lowering the boxes into precisely cut spaces in the bedrock. A carved stone inscription found within the Serapeum indicated that it took 28 days to move just one sarcophagus and its lid into place during the reign of Ptolemy I. The exceptional precision of the sarcophagi, with their 90-degree angles, can be attributed to the ancient Egyptians' mastery of geometry. Ancient Egyptian texts on papyrus demonstrate their knowledge of the approximate value of pi and their ability to calculate the volume of a truncated pyramid. If they could figure view, let's journey back in time, far before the age of dinosaurs, to a land of mystery and ancient secrets. Imagine the Serapeum, a subterranean complex in Saqqara, Egypt. Here we find colossal stone boxes, each carved with impossible precision. The ancient Egyptians, masters of engineering, are credited with their creation. They possessed the knowledge to quarry, transport, and shape these massive blocks. If they could perform complex calculations, crafting perfectly flat surfaces centuries later would be within their capabilities. This explanation seems plausible, yet some details raise eyebrows. The sheer size of these boxes dwarfs that of the bulls they supposedly entombed. In contrast, pharaohs were interred in relatively small sarcophagi, barely accommodating their bodies. The sarcophagi themselves are crafted from granite with extraordinary accuracy, a task that could have been simplified by using limestone. The transportation of these boxes appears straightforward, but only on paper. If a single individual could haul roughly 440 pounds, a staggering 250 people would be required to move a single box. The tunnels within the Serapeum are remarkably narrow, barely 2 feet wider than the boxes. It's difficult to imagine how hundreds of workers could navigate these tight spaces to maneuver the boxes. Even if they managed to squeeze through, how did they rotate the box within the cramped corridor, guide it into its niche, and center it perfectly? Yet, this feat was replicated 24 times, with each box precisely positioned. Adding to the enigma, the chambers were dusty and devoid of soot stains from lamps. This suggests that the work was conducted in near total darkness. Could the boxes have served a different purpose altogether? Long before the pharaoh's reign, the local population understood the principles of fermentation. This process occurs when microorganisms, like yeast, consume ingredients such as starch and convert them into gas and ethanol. Imagine ancient Egyptians placing barley, bread, or even meat inside these giant stone containers, sealing them with heavy lids. These granite boxes were crafted with such precision that they were nearly airtight, preventing any leakage. As the yeast began to break down the organic matter, it generated increasing amounts of carbon dioxide. The granite boxes were incredibly robust, capable of withstanding pressures exceeding that of a car tire. When compressed, the granite crystals produced a faint electrical charge. This phenomenon was possible due to the presence of quartz within the granite, a material known to react to pressure. The process also required meat or animal parts, possibly to stimulate yeast growth. Meat contains oleic acid, a compound essential for yeast survival and mitigating the harmful effects of ethanol. As the pressure within the box intensified, the combination of gases and electricity transformed these containers into more than just ancient refrigerators. They became powerful energy systems. Over time, the internal pressure would build to the point where it could force the lid open, releasing the gas with a loud pop. However, when the Serapeum was rediscovered in 1850, drawings revealed piles of stones stacked atop some of the lids. This indicates that someone, long ago, attempted to increase the lid's weight to resist the gas pressure. This added weight would also amplify the electricity generated by the quartz crystals within the granite. If someone were to open one of these stone boxes millennia later, they would only find the bones of bulls that had been placed inside. This is precisely what Auguste Mariette discovered in the 1850s. The Serapeum was soon opened to the public, following the initial excavations in the latter half of the 19th century. Even the Prince of Wales once hosted a luncheon for his guests inside one of the sarcophagi. Sands and earthquakes rendered the site inaccessible for a period, but it is now open for exploration once more, inviting visitors to unravel its mysteries. With the advent of new technologies, we may soon unlock the answers to many other historical enigmas. Recently, a team of scientists at Chicago's Field Museum of Natural History employed a specialized CT scanner to glean insights into ancient Egyptian mummies without unwrapping them. They carefully transported 26 mummies, resting on custom-built carts, to the parking lot where the scanner awaited. The scanner captured thousands of detailed X-ray images of each mummy and their coffins. These images were then compiled to create 3D models, revealing the skeletons and artifacts concealed within. The scientists hope that these images will illuminate ancient Egyptian burial rituals practiced over 3,000 years ago. While the scanning process itself took only 4 days, the analysis of the data could span 3 years. Nevertheless, scientists have already uncovered personal details about the mummies. One of the museum's most celebrated mummified individuals, Lady Sheneta, was a woman who lived in ancient Egypt roughly 3,000 years ago. It appears she died in her late 30s. Imagine the meticulous care taken to prepare a body for its journey into the afterlife. In ancient Egypt, during the 40th dynasty, this was an art form. To ensure the deceased looked complete for eternity, embalmers would delicately stuff the neck to prevent collapse. Artificial eyes were carefully placed in the empty sockets, giving the illusion of sight in the next world. The body was then wrapped in the finest linen and placed within an ornate coffin. Scans of one such coffin reveal the incredible craftsmanship involved. A slit was carefully carved into the back, allowing the embalmers to fit the body snugly inside. Artistic details adorn the surface, including subtle markings indicating the position of the knees. This was no mere burial. It was a send-off on the scale of a high-end luxury car, a testament to the deceased's status and the importance of the afterlife. But the sands of Egypt hold even greater secrets. Picture this: a lost city hidden beneath the very pyramids themselves. Not just a small settlement, but a sprawling metropolis, larger than anything previously imagined. A network of underground chambers, mysterious passageways, and towering vertical structures stretches beneath the Giza Plateau, their purpose unknown for millennia. Let's journey back to the beginning of this incredible discovery. Italian and Scottish scientists, meticulously studying the Pyramid of Khafra, stumbled upon something extraordinary, what appeared to be a series of secret tunnels snaking beneath 3 of the pyramids. This find has the potential to rewrite our understanding of ancient Egypt. The expedition, aptly named the Khafre Project, was spearheaded by Corrado Malanga from Pisa, Italy, and Filippo Bessone from the University of Strathclyde, Scotland. Their initial focus was Khafre's pyramid, the second largest on the Giza Plateau. What they unearthed was nothing short of astounding: a massive, complex structure hidden deep beneath the pyramid's foundations. Could it be an ancient Egyptian underground city lost to time? Analyzing the data, the scientists concluded that at least 8 large vertical structures were concealed beneath the sands, potentially wells or shafts of immense proportions. These structures extend a staggering 6,500 feet across. To truly grasp the scale, imagine placing 2.5 Burj Khalifas, end to end, on the ground. That's the sheer magnitude of this subterranean find. These shafts plunge nearly 2,000 feet underground. To put that into perspective, some of the deepest underground train stations in the world are located at a mere 380 feet below the surface. These cylindrical shafts are surrounded by intricate spiral paths, reminiscent of those found in old Gothic castles. They connect to 2 giant, strangely shaped chambers. Are they cubes? Bowls? No one knows for sure. Each of these chambers is likely more than 260 feet across, a vast space hidden beneath the sands. While we now know these structures exist, their original purpose remains a mystery. But here's where the story takes an even more intriguing turn. The team is almost certain that similar access points can be found beneath all 3 pyramids. Imagine a hidden system of interconnected underground tunnels, chambers, and passages linking these colossal monuments. And even deeper, approximately 4,000 feet below the surface, there might be even more unknown structures waiting to be discovered. Adding to the enigma, Some members of the team believe that these hidden structures near the Giza pyramids could be connected to the legendary halls of Aru. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Aru is a place where souls are believed to arrive near the end of their earthly journey. There, they face a 3-day-long trial, confronting their greatest fears. But how did scientists even detect these hidden spaces in the first place? The answer lies in advanced technology. Researchers employed 2 satellites positioned 420 miles above Earth. These satellites emitted radar signals towards the Giza Plateau. The returning signals generated detailed images, which were then compiled into a 3D model of the underground layout, revealing the presence of the newly discovered shafts. Using synthetic aperture radar, or SAR technology, a type of radar capable of penetrating stone, the team also identified 5 small, room-like structures hidden deep within the pyramid itself. One of these chambers contained a sarcophagus, once believed to be the tomb of Pharaoh Khafra. However, scientists now suspect this was a misidentification, and the true burial site lies elsewhere. Regardless, these 5 hidden rooms were completely unknown prior to the scans. They appear to be arranged in the center of the pyramid and are connected to underground pathways that lead to points further below the structure. Some believe these tunnels could lead to even more hidden chambers and wells, some of which might be around 4,500 years old. Imagine the secrets they might hold. What if these discoveries help us unlock the mysteries of this ancient civilization? Preliminary data suggests that this underground space is far more than just a few empty chambers. There may be countless more hidden structures lurking near the Giza pyramids. The structure appears to include hollowed-out sections with spiral pathways leading even deeper underground. Refining the images hinting at this could reveal an extensive subterranean network, a whole city hidden beneath the surface. Many remain skeptical about the purported underground city and recent archaeological discoveries in Egypt. They question the evidence, citing a lack of rigorous, peer-reviewed validation. Several archaeologists and specialists in ground-penetrating radar have voiced concerns, challenging the very basis of these claims. Their argument centers on the limitations of the technology used, suggesting it may not be sophisticated enough to generate the detailed subterranean imagery presented. According to these experts, the 5 smaller chambers detected near the surface could easily be natural geological formations. After all, this area held immense sacred significance long before the construction of the pyramids themselves. Some critics go even further, dismissing the use of radar methods in this context altogether, labeling them as scientifically unproven and inherently unreliable. However, the discovery has also ignited a renewed fascination with ancient Egyptian myths, specifically the enduring legend of hidden texts concealed beneath the Giza pyramids. The layout of these newly discovered underground chambers bears a striking resemblance to mythological accounts of the fabled Hall of Records, a legendary repository said to safeguard the ancient wisdom of the Egyptians. If these findings are definitively confirmed, they could fundamentally reshape our understanding of Egypt's sacred landscape. Imagine it, a lost city beneath the pyramids, providing tangible evidence of previously unknown subterranean structures. The Khafra project team is understandably eager to begin excavations, hoping to validate their intriguing findings. However, securing the necessary approvals from Egyptian authorities is proving to be a significant hurdle. These discoveries still need to undergo the scrutiny of peer review before they can be fully accepted by the wider academic community. This recent flurry of archaeological excitement in Egypt follows closely on the heels of another intriguing discovery: a strange, enigmatic structure found beneath the Royal Giza Cemetery. Researchers believe this structure, whatever it may be, is undeniably unnatural in origin. Using advanced remote sensing techniques, archaeologists have unearthed a mysterious L-shaped formation buried beneath the sands of Giza's Western Cemetery. This area is well known as the final resting place of royal family members and high-ranking officials. Many of the tombs within the cemetery feature above-ground mastabas, rectangular structures built of stone or mud brick, topped with flat roofs. However, there's a distinct area in the center of the cemetery where no such above-ground structures exist. To investigate this unexplored region, the research team employed a combination of electrical resistivity, tomography, ERT, and ground-penetrating radar, GPR. ERT works by sending electrical currents deep into the Earth and measuring the resistance encountered, allowing researchers to detect buried remains and structures. GPR, on the other hand, emits radar waves into the ground and maps the subsurface based on the patterns of the returning signals. The team discovered an anomaly approximately 6.5 feet beneath the surface. This anomaly appeared to be an L-shaped structure, measuring at least 33 feet in length. The data suggests that the structure was deliberately backfilled with sand sometime after its construction. This led the team to hypothesize that it could be a mixture of sand and gravel, or possibly even an air-filled void. This anomaly was classified as a highly resistive structure, indicating that it was unlikely to be a naturally occurring formation. Motoyuki Sato, the lead author of the study and a professor at Tohoku University in Japan, asserts that the structure's sharp, well-defined shape rules out the possibility of a natural origin. Another long-held belief about the ancient Egyptian pyramids is that they were built primarily for the elite, royals, and high-status individuals who possessed the immense wealth and power required to undertake such monumental construction projects. However, new research emerging from the archaeological site of Tombos, located in modern-day Sudan, is challenging this assumption. It appears that the pyramids at Tombos may have served as burial sites for lower-status workers, as well as the elite. The hard-working members of ancient communities may have found their final resting place within some of the most visible monuments, including these very pyramids. Situated along the Nile River in the ancient region of Nubia, Tombos became part of Egypt after the Egyptian conquest of the area around 1400 BCE. Egypt established a presence at Tombos to solidify its colonial control. Workers at Tombos constructed pyramids, though these were significantly more modest in scale compared to the iconic pyramids of Giza. The research team reanalyzed 110 human skeletons unearthed at Tombos, which were originally studied in 2012. Their focus was on the entheses, the points where tendons and ligaments attach to bones. Analyzing these areas can provide valuable insights into the amount of physical labor a person performed during their lifetime. When someone engages in strenuous physical labor, their bones often develop distinct crests and ridges at these attachment points due to the repeated stress placed on the tendons and ligaments. While some skeletons showed little change in their entheses, suggesting they belonged to individuals from the upper classes, others exhibited more pronounced changes, indicating a life of hard labor. Imagine, if you will, a figure lost to the sands of time, a queen whose very existence was almost scrubbed from the historical record. We're talking about Hatshepsut, a female pharaoh of ancient Egypt, whose reign was, for a time, attributed to other rulers, as if she had never existed at all. Some historians believe that Thutmose III sought to reclaim what he saw as his rightful place as pharaoh. Others suggest that later rulers, uneasy with the concept of a woman on the throne, were determined to reinstate traditional male dominance. But the story takes an even more tragic turn. The power struggle between stepmother and stepson continued even after Hatshepsut's death. Thutmose III constructed his own temple right next to Hatshepsut's at the Valley of the Kings. But this was no mere coincidence. His monument was deliberately built 11 feet higher than hers. This wasn't an accident. It was a symbolic act, a clear message. He wanted to overshadow her legacy, to diminish her achievements in the eyes of posterity. But history, as it often does, had other plans. Hatshepsut's legacy began to be rediscovered in the 19th century. It was only through meticulous archaeological investigation that her reign was properly acknowledged and celebrated. Today, Hatshepsut is remembered as one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. Her reign, once erased, has been painstakingly reconstructed through continuous archaeological discoveries, proving that her power and influence could not be so easily forgotten. Even her final resting place, hidden in plain sight, her body removed from its original chamber, could not ultimately erase her from history. This discovery cemented her legacy, demonstrating that even the most determined attempts to erase a pharaoh could not truly succeed. Her grand temple, Djeser-Djeseru, was a magnificent architectural achievement designed to immortalize her reign and solidify her divine connection to Amun. But after her death, her successor, Thutmose III, launched a calculated effort to erase her legacy, and parts of her temple were dismantled. Historians still debate the reasons behind this act. Was it a dynastic power play? An attempt to restore traditional male rule? Or simply a bid to strengthen Thutmose III's claim to the throne? Perhaps personal animosity played a role. Whatever the motivation, the destruction wasn't immediate. It occurred decades after her death, suggesting a broader political strategy rather than a personal vendetta. Yet despite these efforts, her temple endures, and so does her story, a defiant echo of Egypt's first great female pharaoh. Now, let's journey through space and time to another location. Dashur, Egypt, is renowned as the site of several ancient Egyptian burial grounds. In 2017, a team of scientists unearthed a long-lost pyramid. Sensing a significant discovery, they promptly contacted the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. Unlike most pyramids in the area, this one was completely sealed. Lifting the capstone was a delicate operation. When they finally managed to open the pyramid, they expected to find an undisturbed chamber. Instead, they were met with chaos. The tomb had been looted, and the personal items of the deceased were scattered everywhere, but amidst the wreckage, they found a chest. Using advanced scanning technology, they managed to decipher the damaged hieroglyphs on its surface. The name inscribed there was as clear as day: Princess Hatshepsut. This discovery in 2017 raised numerous questions. Further analysis revealed that the remains belonged to another Hatshepsut, a princess who lived during Egypt's 13th dynasty. The fact that the tomb had been looted before it was sealed led scientists to wonder, were the ancient Egyptians trying to conceal something about this public figure? And why is there so little recorded about her in ancient Egyptian history? Now, imagine yourself digging in Egypt's famous Saqqara necropolis, also known as the ultimate VIP graveyard for pharaohs. Suddenly, you stumble upon a giant pink door, concealing something no one knew existed. Behind this massive stone door, one that was never meant to be opened, you discover a lost tomb of Egyptian royalty. History enthusiasts, prepare yourselves, because archaeologists have just accomplished something straight out of an Indiana Jones film. We're traveling to Saqqara, one of Egypt's most mysterious and treasure-laden ancient sites. The star of our show is a prince you've likely never heard of. Prince Userkaf, son of King Usarkaf. Perhaps not a household name, but the founder of Egypt's 5th dynasty. No small feat. The discovery of his tomb began with a massive door made of pink granite, no less. This isn't just a regular stone slab. It's about 14 to 15 feet tall and 4 feet wide. A giraffe could easily walk through it. This door is also heavier than your average SUV. But here's the twist. It wasn't a real door. It was a false door, a symbolic gateway meant to allow the spirit of the deceased to pass between the worlds. Imagine traveling back thousands of years to the sands of ancient Egypt. We often associate the majestic pyramids with pharaohs and the elite, but recent discoveries are challenging this long-held belief. Evidence suggests that even the lower classes may have found their final resting place within these colossal structures. This shifts our understanding of who was deemed worthy of such monumental burials. But the mysteries of ancient Egypt don't end there. Picture this: a vast, desolate desert landscape. What would you least expect to find? A fleet of boats, of course. Yet that's precisely what archaeologists have been puzzling over for decades. In 1988, a fierce storm raged near one of Egypt's most significant archaeological sites. As the sands shifted, a strange wooden structure emerged, weathered and riddled with termite damage. Scientists knew instantly that this was something extraordinary, a puzzle demanding to be solved. It wasn't until 2000 that a dedicated American team began the painstaking excavation near Abydos. What they unearthed was astonishing. A 70-foot-long boat, perfectly preserved in the arid earth. And it wasn't alone. In total, 14 boats lay side by side, a silent fleet slumbering beneath the sands. The fragile condition of the vessels made complete excavation impossible. However, enough wood remained to obtain samples. Analysis revealed a breathtaking truth. These boats were approximately 5,000 years old, making them the oldest known fleet in human history. Their construction predates the pyramids of Giza by a staggering half-millennium. Each ship rested within its own meticulously crafted vault, a chamber mirroring its exact dimensions. Imagine a room roughly one-third the size of a tennis court, its mud brick walls adorned with over 120 intricate drawings of boats. These ancient Egyptians had etched their world onto the whitewashed walls, creating a remarkable record for future generations. The existence of these mysterious chambers had been known for over a century. As early as 1901, 1902, a British archaeologist named Arthur Weigel stumbled upon the strange structure west of the Nile. His team glimpsed the interior walls, but a section of the roof collapsed, forcing them to abandon the exploration. The site was lost, but its location remained etched on maps, a tantalizing secret waiting to be rediscovered. Initially, scientists believed the boats might have rested on the banks of the mighty Nile, but this theory quickly ran aground. Today, the river flows almost 7 miles west of Abydos, and studies of the surrounding terrain revealed that the Nile's course hadn't significantly changed throughout history. Furthermore, if the boats had simply floated to a dock, they would have been in disarray. The 14 vessels at Abydos were perfectly aligned, parallel to one another. The only logical conclusion was that someone had deliberately placed them there, a monumental undertaking requiring immense effort. Each boat was large enough to accommodate up to 30 rowers, and they were undeniably seaworthy. These weren't mere models. They were real boats. However, whether they ever actually sailed on the waters of ancient Egypt remains a mystery. Regardless, the significance of this discovery cannot be overstated. Previously, archaeologists had only found small-scale models of boats, such as the 35 found in King Tutankhamun's tomb. For a long time, these figurines were the only clues to the design of ancient Egyptian vessels. The Abydos boats confirmed that these models were accurate representations of the real thing. The boat's design reveals that they were built boats, a groundbreaking innovation in shipbuilding. Before this, ancient people primarily used hollowed-out tree trunks or rafts made of tied-together reeds. The Abydos boats, however, were constructed with planks joined together, a significant leap forward in maritime technology. In their time, these boats must have been incredibly impressive. Timber was a precious and valuable commodity in the arid desert. Cedar wood, in particular, had to be imported from distant Lebanon. The only person who could afford such extravagant displays of wealth was the pharaoh himself. Further investigation of the area surrounding the ancient fleet yielded even more clues. Scientists uncovered a mud brick structure where Egyptians worshipped the pharaoh. The construction date of this structure coincides with that of the wooden boats. The same bricks used to build the temple were also used to encase the fleet. At the time of their construction, the rooms housing the boats had ceilings. This is the section that Arthur Weigel's team stumbled upon in the early 20th century. Like mummies resting in their sarcophagi. These magnificent ships were housed in elaborate vaults, a testament to their importance. The exterior of these rooms was equally impressive. The outer walls were originally covered in a plaster of brilliant white limestone. Imagine the effect, sunlight reflecting off the gleaming surface, making the structure shine like a beacon in the desert. Ancient Egyptian builders employed the same technique 500 years later when constructing the pyramids. Today, the pyramid surfaces appear rough and weathered, but it wasn't always so. When first built, they were covered with a layer of fine, polished white limestone, reflecting the sun's rays with dazzling intensity. Imagine traveling back in time, thousands of years, to ancient Egypt. What we think we know about the iconic pyramids is about to be challenged. Forget the sandy brown structures we see today. Picture them instead gleaming brilliantly under the scorching African sun. The pyramids, in their prime, were cloaked in a layer of polished white limestone, so reflective that you'd have to shield your eyes from the intense glare. For the Great Pyramid of Giza alone, an estimated 6 million tons of this pristine white stone was used. Far from the weathered surfaces of today, the outer layer presented a sleek, ramp-like facade, rather than the stepped appearance we now recognize. But a lingering mystery remained for archaeologists. Which pharaoh commissioned these magnificent, gleaming monuments? The answer lay a mere mile from the pyramid site, near the tomb of King Senusret III, a pharaoh of the 5th dynasty. The timing and architectural style of his tomb perfectly matched that of the chambers containing the mysterious boats. Perhaps the circumstances surrounding the end of Senusrit III's reign provide a clue. It's believed the pharaoh likely died in northern Egypt. Imagine the grand procession that followed. His body transported down the Nile to Abydos, aboard elaborately decorated boats. These vessels were not merely for transport. Later, they were carefully lowered into chambers near the pharaoh's final resting place, a symbolic act deeply rooted in ancient Egyptian beliefs. Ships held a crucial role in their understanding of the cosmos. The supreme deity, Ra, journeyed across the sky each day in the form of the sun. As darkness fell, he sailed through the netherworld in a solar boat. The pharaoh, identifying himself with Ra, required boats in the afterlife to regenerate, mirroring the sun's daily rebirth. This belief persisted for millennia. The renowned pharaoh Khufu also possessed a ship, discovered in 1954 near his pyramid at Giza. While this vessel was constructed approximately 4 centuries after the Abydos fleet, it was nearly twice as long, a testament to the evolving shipbuilding prowess of the ancient Egyptians. While the Great Pyramid of Giza and the tomb of King Tutankhamun are celebrated archaeological treasures, countless other secrets lie buried beneath the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert. As recently as 2020, archaeologists unearthed a lost city, hailed as the most significant discovery since the unearthing of King Tut's tomb in 1922. This is the city of Aten, a 3,000-year-old metropolis that promises to offer unparalleled insights into the daily lives of ordinary ancient Egyptians. The famed archaeologist and Egyptologist Zahi Hawass has declared the site a lost golden city. Located approximately 300 miles south of Cairo, near the Valley of the Kings, Aden began to reveal itself as archaeologists uncovered sections of mud brick walls stretching in every direction. They soon unearthed entire rooms filled with the tools and implements of everyday life, a bustling bakery, a residential neighborhood, and an administrative district. These discoveries date back to a time when Egyptian civilization was at the zenith of its wealth and power. The ancient Egyptians were also pioneers in the use of iron. In 1911, scientists discovered a collection of iron beads near the village of El Gerza in Lower Egypt. These remarkable artifacts represent the earliest known examples of ironwork. Astonishingly, these beads are literally out of this world, crafted from pieces of meteorites hammered into shape. These 9 beads, once part of an elaborate necklace, are now blackened and corroded, a natural consequence of their 5,000-year age. Composed of an iron-nickel alloy, they showcase the extraordinary skill of ancient jewelers, who fashioned them without fully understanding the celestial origins of their material. The Great Pyramid of Giza continues to yield surprises. An international research team investigating the structure's electromagnetic response to radio waves made a startling discovery. The pyramid possesses the ability to concentrate electromagnetic energy within its chambers and beneath its base, in an unfinished underground chamber. This phenomenon appears to be linked to the properties of limestone, the primary building material of the Great Pyramid. The implications of this research could be far-reaching. The way solar cells and nanosensors function might be improved by understanding this remarkable electromagnetic concentration effect. Now, imagine stepping into a time machine and journeying into the distant past. You would find a world utterly transformed. Even iconic landmarks like the Statue of Liberty and the Egyptian pyramids wouldn't exist in their current forms. Everyday objects, from remote controls to laptops, and even the corn on your lunch plate, would be unrecognizable. Returning to the pyramids, it's important to remember that the pharaohs were practical rulers. Over time, they reused some of the outer casing for other construction projects, leading to the pyramid's present-day appearance. Imagine traveling back in time to ancient Egypt. Before us stands the majestic pyramid of Khafra in Giza. But look closely. Do you notice something missing? Much of the original limestone casing is gone, stripped away over centuries to be used as building materials for other projects. A cataclysmic earthquake in the 14th century further loosened stones, leaving only remnants clinging to the pyramid's peak, creating the illusion of a second summit. Now, picture these pyramids in their full glory. Every pyramid was once capped with a gleaming pyramidion, plated with a dazzling blend of gold and silver. These precious apex stones, adorned with images of Egyptian deities, reflected the sun's radiant power. Sadly, time has claimed most of these treasures, but a fortunate few survive in museum collections, whispering tales of a bygone era. The very shape of the pyramids likely drew inspiration from the sacred Benben stone, a pointed emblem representing the life-giving rays of the sun. Consider the sheer logistical challenge of constructing these colossal monuments. Moving immense stones without modern technology. We've all experienced the back-breaking labor of helping friends move furniture. The ancient Egyptians, however, ingeniously utilized the pyramid's shape itself, distributing the immense weight evenly throughout the structure, ensuring its enduring stability. Let's fast forward to another iconic monument, the Statue of Liberty. Unveiled in 1886, she wasn't always the familiar green figure we know today. Astonishingly, she was originally a lustrous, penny brown color. 20 years later, a transformation began, not through artistic design, but through a fascinating chemical reaction. The statue's copper skin, reacting with the atmosphere, formed a protective layer known as verdigris. This natural shield safeguards the underlying metal from corrosion, ensuring the longevity of copper, brass, and bronze structures. When Lady Liberty began her green metamorphosis, authorities considered painting over the verdigris. Fortunately, public outcry, fueled by insightful articles in local newspapers and expert opinions from copper and bronze manufacturers, prevented this potential disaster. Removing the protective layer would have condemned the statue to ruin. Over the decades, the idea of repainting has resurfaced, but thankfully, reason has prevailed. It's difficult to imagine this iconic symbol in any other color. Now, let's shift our focus to something more palatable. The banana. That sweet, soft banana you enjoy today owes its existence to selective breeding. Wild bananas were once filled with large, hard seeds and possessed minimal edible pulp. Similarly, the watermelon, enjoyed for over 5,000 years, started as a bitter, yellowish-white fruit that was difficult to open. Through careful cultivation, these fruits have been transformed into the delicious varieties we savor today. Japanese scientists even perfected the seedless watermelon. Corn, another staple crop, descends from a Mexican grass called teosinte. Early farmers meticulously selected seeds from plants with larger, tastier kernels, leading to the development of edible and delicious corn. Even the avocado, once a small fruit with a massive pit and a tough shell, has been transformed into the creamy delight we know today. Imagine holding a wild avocado in your palm, realizing how little edible flesh it contained. Finally, consider the computer. While pinpointing a single inventor is impossible, the Atanasoff-Berry computer, ABC, created in 1942 at Iowa State University, stands as an early contender. Weighing over 700 pounds, this behemoth contained around 300 vacuum tubes and a rotating drum equipped with capacitors, devices that store electrical charge. The ABC could solve problems with up to 29 variables, assisting scientists in their calculations. Like modern computers, it employed binary digits, ones and zeros, to represent data, enabling electronic calculations. However, the ABC processed a single operation approximately every 15 seconds. Modern computers perform millions of operations per second. Unlike today's technology, the ABC lacked a changeable stored program, limiting it to single tasks. Operators had to manually record intermediate answers and re-enter them into the computer, a far cry from the seamless processing we take for granted today. Let's take a moment to appreciate modern conveniences. That little device you use to control everything from your TV to your garage door has a fascinating history. Back in 1898, the brilliant Nikola Tesla, the man who gifted us alternating current, conceived one of the very first wireless remote controls. He called his invention teleautomation, and he showcased its capabilities with a miniature boat guided by radio waves. Imagine this: the boat, a small vessel equipped with a metal antenna, cutting through the water. Tesla, standing nearby, manipulates a box fitted with a lever and a telegraph key, his rudimentary version of a remote. With each press and flick, he sends signals that trigger electrical contacts within the boat, causing the rudder to turn and the propeller to spin. Tesla was in complete command. The idea of remote control soon caught on, spreading to other devices. In 1950, the first television remote emerged, courtesy of the Zenith Radio Corporation. It was dubbed Lazy Bones, though no offense intended. This early remote, however, was far from elegant. A bulky cable tethered it to the TV, a design flaw that often led to frustrated users tripping over the cord. Now, for those of us who live or work high above the ground, let's appreciate another game-changing invention: the passenger elevator. The first of its kind, installed in New York back in 1857, ascended at a stately pace of 40 feet per minute. While that may seem slow compared to today's elevators, which can reach speeds of 40 feet per second, it was a revolutionary concept. Picture this: a steam engine concealed deep within the basement of a 5-story building, powering this vertical contraption. Initially, it was more of a novelty than a necessity, a tourist attraction that sadly failed to capture the public's imagination. Just 3 years later, it was shut down. Around the same time, Otis Tufts secured the first patent for what he termed a vertical railway. His design included an actual car, complete with a bench for passengers to relax on. Imagine gathering with friends for a leisurely ride. Soon, elevators began appearing in luxury hotels around the globe. These were not mere transport devices, but opulent rooms, adorned with rich designs, upholstered seats, mirrors, and even the occasional chandelier. An operator, always present, would close the door, and the car would begin its slow, majestic ascent. It was more about the experience than pure speed. The Great Pyramid of Giza, an imposing monument constructed as the final resting place for the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Khufu. Legend has it that Napoleon Bonaparte himself ventured into this colossal structure, only to emerge visibly shaken and pale. He never revealed what he witnessed within, but whatever it was, it supposedly left a lasting impact on him. Imagine Napoleon's journey into the pyramid. He would have navigated a narrow, ascending passageway, eventually leading to the Grand Gallery. This corridor, significantly taller than the previous one, would have featured corbelled walls. Finally, he would have reached the king's chamber, the heart of the Great Pyramid, lined with massive granite blocks. However, the chamber wouldn't have been as lavishly decorated as one might expect. During this era, Egyptians had not yet begun adorning burial chambers with hieroglyphics. The pharaoh's tomb, deep within the pyramid, would have been filled with priceless treasures. Gold, jewels, and artifacts beyond measure. But alas, these riches would have been plundered long ago. The only remaining object would likely have been a massive sarcophagus, the final vessel for the king's mummified remains. Along the way, Napoleon would have also passed the queen's chamber. Despite its name, this room likely didn't house any queens, as pyramids were typically built for a single individual. Mysterious tunnels extend from this chamber, their purpose still unknown to this day. And that's not the only enigma Napoleon might have encountered. Ancient curses whispered to be placed upon the pyramids by the pharaohs were a common belief. Many pyramids bore warnings inscribed on their exteriors, detailing the horrors that awaited those who dared to disturb their peace. While we may never know the exact nature of Napoleon's terrifying experience within the Great Pyramid, we do know what was discovered within the tomb of Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun, a pharaoh who ascended to the throne at the tender age of 8 or 9, became a global sensation when his tomb was unearthed in 1922, almost entirely intact. His pyramid resides in the Valley of the Kings, near modern-day Luxor, in Egypt. Unlike the Great Pyramid, Tutankhamun's tomb was adorned with stunning wall decorations. These vibrant paintings narrated the story of his journey to the afterlife, a perilous voyage through the underworld. The ancient Egyptians believed that all people— imagine, if you will, the final journey of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh. A voyage not to distant lands, but to the realm of the afterlife. It was a journey they believed they would truly undertake, and so their tombs were meticulously prepared. Filled with objects, vibrant paintings, all designed to aid them in their passage. Spells, potent and protective, adorn the walls, each hieroglyph a whispered promise of safe passage to the next realm. This journey was envisioned as a long and arduous one. For this reason, the ancient Egyptians spared no expense in stocking the pyramids with provisions. In Tutankhamun's tomb, archaeologists discovered 8 carefully arranged baskets of fruit. Astonishingly, they even unearthed something described as gingerbread fruit, a testament to the enduring nature of ancient delicacies. The chambers overflowed with worldly possessions. Furniture crafted with skill, imposing statues, fine clothing, and ceremonial staffs. A king's ransom of objects deemed essential for eternity. Clothing and exquisite jewelry were particularly abundant. The ancient Egyptians were determined that their rulers should arrive in the afterlife in unparalleled style. Tutankhamun himself was entombed with over 50 garments, each piece a masterpiece of ancient craftsmanship. Tunics of the finest linen, intricately woven scarves, delicate gloves, and elaborate headdresses were all present. And then there was the jewelry, a dazzling collection fit for a god. Bracelets of solid gold, pendants inlaid with precious stones, ornate necklaces, rings bearing powerful symbols, and protective scarabs were scattered throughout the tomb. Each item was wrought from gold or adorned with lapis lazuli, carnelian, and other treasures of the ancient world. Even fans made from the delicate feathers of ostriches were included, intended to provide a cooling breeze in the scorching Egyptian sun. Although, remarkably, the temperature within the pyramids rarely exceeded 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The ancient Egyptians, with their ingenuity, had devised a sophisticated air conditioning system, the secrets of which remain partially veiled to this day. To further assist Tutankhamun on his eternal journey, the tomb contained 130 walking sticks, each crafted from ebony, ivory, silver, or gold. And should the pharaoh tire of walking, 3 magnificent chariots were provided, ready to transport him in regal fashion. Oddly, 11 boat paddles were also discovered, but no boat to accompany them. Perhaps the journey was intended to span both land and water, or perhaps the boat itself had succumbed to the ravages of time. The pyramids were also infused with the pharaoh's favorite scents and perfumes, creating an atmosphere of luxury and comfort. However, the excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb revealed a darker side to its history. It became evident that the tomb had been plundered in ancient times. Doors showed signs of damage, and traces of oils were found in empty jars. It appeared that someone had raided the pyramid, seeking gold, precious scents, perfumes, and oils that had been intended for the king's use in the afterlife. A small amount of perfume, composed of coconut oil and frankincense, remained in one bottle, offering a tantalizing glimpse of the aromas that once filled the tomb. It seems Pharaoh Tutankhamun also enjoyed board games. An ivory traveling set of senet, an ancient Egyptian game, was found within his pyramid. While the exact rules of senet remain somewhat obscure, scholars believe it to be a precursor to backgammon, a 2-player game where the objective was to strategically remove one's opponent from the board. One can only wonder with whom Tutankhamun intended to play this game in the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians had customs that might strike us as peculiar. For example, it was customary to shave one's eyebrows upon the death of a cat. Given such practices, it is perhaps not surprising that the pyramids contained some unusual items. Archaeologists have unearthed collections of mummified cats and scarab beetles in pyramids dating back over 4,000 years. These were discovered in the pyramids of Saqqara, located south of Cairo. A variety of makeup kits and mirrors were also found. In ancient Egypt, both men and women embraced makeup, with eyeliner being the most popular cosmetic. The Rosetta Stone stands as one of the most significant discoveries ever made in connection with pyramids. It was unearthed by Napoleon Bonaparte and his team. This slab of black granite, dating back to 196 BCE, is inscribed in Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic scripts. Its translation in 1822 unlocked the secrets of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, providing us with the key to understanding their written language for the first time. The discovery of Queen Hatshepsut's mummy in 1903 revolutionized our understanding of Egyptian history. After her death, her successor, Thutmose III, attempted to erase her legacy, removing most traces of her reign. Consequently, little was known about Egypt's first great female leader. She has since become recognized as one of the most famous and influential female pharaohs in Egyptian history. Pharaoh Khufu even had a fully fledged boat entombed within his pyramid complex. Archaeologists painstakingly pieced together over 200 fragments of a colossal vessel near the Great Pyramid at Giza. The reconstructed boat measures an impressive 144 feet in length. It is believed to be a solar boat designed to transport the resurrected king alongside the sun deity Ra on his celestial journey. A remarkable fact: the Pyramid of Giza is the sole remaining wonder of the ancient world's 7 wonders. The other 6, now lost to time, include the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Colossus of Rhodes, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, and the Statue of Zeus at Olympia. For an astounding 3,800 years, the Pyramid of Giza reigned as the tallest man-made structure on Earth, and it remains the largest pyramid in Egypt. Its construction required a staggering 2.3 million blocks of limestone, some weighing as much as 80 tons. An estimated 100,000 laborers toiled for decades to bring this monumental vision to life, a testament to the power and ambition of the pharaohs. Imagine, if you will, the sands of time swirling back 4.5 millennia. Picture the Giza Plateau, baking under the relentless Egyptian sun. Here, rising from the desert floor, stands the Great Pyramid, a monument to human ambition and ingenuity. This colossal structure, a testament to the power of the pharaohs, took an estimated 23 years to construct. Originally, it soared to a staggering height of 480 feet, a beacon visible for miles across the ancient landscape. But even after thousands of years, the Great Pyramid continues to hold secrets. In 2017, archaeologists made an astonishing discovery, something truly bizarre. Deep within the pyramid's heart, they detected a hidden void, a cavernous space stretching at least 100 feet in length. The purpose of this mysterious chamber remains unknown, its contents a tantalizing enigma. What could the ancient Egyptians have concealed within this secret space? This hidden void represents the first major structural discovery within the Great Pyramid since the 19th century. Scientists employed cutting-edge technology, harnessing the power of cosmic rays, to peer through the immense stone blocks and reveal this hidden chamber. Yet, despite this technological marvel, the mystery persists. We are still no closer to understanding the void's true nature or its purpose. The ancient Egyptians were meticulous builders, their architectural prowess evident in every precisely placed stone. The pyramids were not haphazard constructions. Every element was strategically designed and structurally sound. Therefore, it seems highly improbable that this massive void is merely the result of collapsing blocks or structural decay over the long centuries. Furthermore, the pyramids often housed small, intricately crafted model figurines known as ushabti. These miniature statues represented servants and attendants, believed to spring to life in the afterlife and cater to the pharaoh's every need. Imagine the sheer volume of these objects, carefully placed within the pyramid's walls, alongside the pharaoh's other treasures. It is truly remarkable to consider the sheer amount of material and artifacts crammed into these ancient structures. Contrary to what one might expect, the interior of the Great Pyramid is not composed of vast open spaces. Instead, it is primarily a solid mass of rock, a labyrinth of chambers and passageways hidden within the immense stone edifice. The secrets of the Great Pyramid, it seems, are still waiting to be unearthed. Imagine stepping back over 4 millennia into the heart of ancient Egypt. We find ourselves at Saqqara, a sprawling necropolis, a city of the dead, where pharaohs and nobles sought eternal life. Here, amidst the sands and the monumental tombs, a remarkable discovery awaits us. A false door, a symbolic portal between the world of the living and the hoped-for afterlife. Now, false doors were commonplace in ancient tombs, but this one was extraordinary. Typically, these doors were crafted from limestone, a readily available material throughout Egypt, but this false door was hewn from striking red granite. To obtain such stone, ancient Egyptians had to transport massive blocks from quarries located hundreds of meters away, a costly and laborious undertaking. Egyptologists are in awe. This is believed to be the first time a false door of this size and material has ever been unearthed in Egypt, making it a truly unique architectural marvel. But the surprises don't end there. Behind this imposing granite facade, the research team discovered something even more remarkable: a hidden entrance. And what lay beyond? A secret tomb brimming with statues, relics, and untold secrets from over 4,000 years ago. This is the tomb of Prince Usar, also known as Wasar Efra or Wazer Efra. Though largely forgotten by history, this individual was clearly no ordinary nobleman. Hieroglyphs meticulously carved into the pink granite door identify him as a hereditary prince, governor of Bh and Neb, a royal scribe, minister, judge, and even a priest of Chench. A man of immense influence. He was, in a sense, the ancient Egyptian equivalent of a powerful figure, wielding authority in both political and religious spheres. These inscriptions reveal not only his extensive political and religious roles, but also suggest his significant power throughout both Lower and Upper Egypt, effectively bridging these regions through his many titles. One title in particular, the Priest of Saker, connects him to the deity of the necropolis, the falcon-headed god, a figure revered as the patron of both the living and the dead. It seems this forgotten prince was a figure of considerable importance, considering his tomb's prestigious location within Saqqara. The mystery deepens. Prince User-Referee is conspicuously absent from official king lists and royal family trees. Why? Did he perhaps die before ascending to the throne? Or was his legacy deliberately erased, a casualty of some ancient Egyptian political intrigue? Some scholars now speculate that his erasure may be linked to shifting religious or political power struggles during the early 5th dynasty, particularly given his father, King Userkaf's, role in reshaping Egypt's religious landscape. Speaking of Userkaf, this pharaoh was a true game-changer. Not only was he the founder of the 5th dynasty, but he also initiated a religious revolution by elevating the sun god Ra above older established deities. Userkaf constructed the very first sun temple at Abusir, sparking a dynasty-wide fascination with solar worship. Following Userkaf's relatively short but impactful reign, a succession of pharaohs took the stage. Sahur Nefir, Musera Ini, a veritable boy band of the 5th dynasty. And these rulers were primarily focused on two key objectives: constructing pyramids and accumulating wealth. They weren't simply piling stones. They were aggressively expanding Egypt's influence, forging trade routes to distant lands, and lavishly embellishing their temples with riches beyond imagination. Returning to the tomb, the discoveries become even more intriguing. A magnificent red granite offering table was unearthed, adorned with inscriptions detailing ritual foods, a kind of eternal menu intended for the afterlife, reflecting the belief that the deceased could magically partake in these offerings. Although the priests and their families were known to enjoy the food in reality, pottery shards, amulets, and vibrantly painted walls were also found. But the real treasures were the statues. Here, the story takes an unexpected turn. The team uncovered statues of King Djoser, the visionary who commissioned Egypt's first pyramid, along with his wife and their 10 daughters, all within Prince User-Referee's tomb. But Djoser lived centuries before Usarkaf. What were his statues doing here? This is a puzzle that continues to confound scientists. These statues were crafted during Djoser's reign and likely originated from that groundbreaking first pyramid. Experts theorized that they were relocated during the 26th dynasty, thousands of years after Djoser, perhaps to safeguard them from destruction, or because they were still revered. In essence, the ancient Egyptians were collectors, but collectors with a sense of history. Furthermore, evidence suggests that some engravings and statues were created much later, indicating that this tomb may have evolved into a repository for valuable artifacts over time. Or perhaps it was simply a case of very, very ancient interior decorating. But there's still more to uncover. Another pink granite entrance was discovered on the eastern side of the tomb, bearing inscriptions that link back to King Nefer, another 5th dynasty pharaoh who attempted to build his own pyramid but ultimately failed. And near this second entrance, archaeologists found something never seen. Imagine a scene. The scorching Egyptian sun beats down upon the desolate landscape of Saqqara. For centuries, secrets have slumbered beneath the sands, undisturbed. But now, a team of archaeologists has stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. A hidden tomb, guarded by illusions and filled with mysteries. Before us, a row of 13 striking pink granite statues. These figures, perched upon a high-backed bench, appear as if patiently waiting their turn in some otherworldly office. Some boast elevated heads, perhaps representing the favored wives of a prince. Others are headless, their identities forever lost to time. And then there's the solitary black granite statue, found unceremoniously upside down, a victim, perhaps, of a long-ago tremor within the tomb's quiet depths. Archaeologists believe that the positioning and head shapes of these statues adhere to a rigid social hierarchy. The central figures, undoubtedly, represent individuals of high status, while the headless ones hint at unfinished tasks or perhaps the defilement of vandals in a later age. But the surprises don't end there. Another black granite statue stands proudly within the tomb. Its design and inscription suggest it was placed there during the 26th dynasty, potentially around the same time the statues of Djoser were relocated. This reveals that the tomb wasn't simply abandoned, it was repurposed, adapted, and perhaps even revered by subsequent generations. Intriguingly, black granite during this later period was associated with Osiris, the god of the underworld. The statue's presence offers a tantalizing clue that the tomb functioned as a ritual space long after the prince's demise. Giant granite doors, unexpected statues, tombs that have been reused over the ages. All of this combines to create a truly awe-inspiring discovery. Prince Usa Referee may not yet be a household name, but his tomb has now become one of the most fascinating ever unearthed in Saqqara. It speaks not only of the Old Kingdom, but also of the enduring connection that ancient Egyptians maintained with their past, even millennia later. But what does it all signify? Why conceal a tomb behind a deceptive facade? Why fill it with statues from various eras? And who exactly was Prince User Referee? These are the riddles that fuel the archaeologists' tireless efforts and captivate our imaginations. Ultimately, this discovery is more than just about a single tomb. It's a testament to the vast wealth of history still slumbering beneath the sands of Egypt. With each new discovery, we are reminded that the ancient past is not gone. It's simply waiting, hidden behind those imposing pink granite doors, to be awakened once more. Now, let's shift our focus to another remarkable find. Imagine miles upon miles of sun-baked yellow sand, the treeless mountain ridges shimmering in the heat, the sun a relentless presence overhead. Suddenly, an unexpected sight breaks the monotony. A small group of people, their excitement palpable. They are as jubilant as lottery winners, for they have stumbled upon an ancient tomb, its walls damaged by past floods. But the treasures within reveal it to be the burial site of one of Egypt's most enigmatic pharaohs. For years, historians have sought this tomb, never expecting it to conceal such incredible artifacts. Fast forward to the present. After a meticulous examination, Egyptian officials announced the discovery of the tomb of King Thutmose II. This marks the last missing tomb from Egypt's 18th dynasty, and the first royal tomb found since the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, a century ago. A joint team of Egyptian and British archaeologists unearthed the tomb in the Theban Mountains, west of Luxor, near the famed Valley of the Kings. Previously known only as Tomb KV64, the excavation revealed undeniable evidence linking it to King Thutmose II. The entrance and main tunnel were initially discovered in 2022. However, it was initially believed to be the tomb of a queen, due to its proximity to the graves of Thutmose III's wives and Queen Hatshepsut's tomb. Originally intended for her use as a royal wife, Hatshepsut's destiny took a dramatic turn when she ascended to the throne as pharaoh. A twist we'll explore later. Soon, however, the archaeologists realized the significance of their discovery. Alabaster jars bearing Thutmose II's name and the inscription Deceased King were found, confirming that this was, indeed, his final resting place. Sadly, the tomb of Thutmose II has suffered the ravages of time and nature. According to the head of Egypt's antiquities sector and the leader of the Egyptian excavation team, the tomb sustained extensive damage from ancient floods. Shortly after the pharaoh's death, floodwaters surged through the burial chamber, likely destroying or displacing many of the original artifacts. Attempts were made to salvage what remained, relocating them elsewhere. The tomb's basic design consisted of an entrance, a sloping main corridor, and a burial chamber. The corridor was coated in white plaster and rose approximately 4.5 feet above the floor of the burial chamber. The grand staircase and a long descending corridor hinted at the tomb's original splendor. It took the team. Imagine venturing deep into the earth, following in the footsteps of archaeologists as they explore a long-forgotten tomb. But the journey is far from easy. The path ahead is treacherous, blocked by debris from ancient floods and the remnants of collapsed ceilings. To proceed, they must crawl through a narrow passage, a mere 16 inches high and 32 feet long. A true test for anyone with even a hint of claustrophobia. Finally, they reach the burial chamber, anticipation building with every inch. Clearing away the remaining debris, they expect to find the crushed remains of a royal burial. Instead, they are met with an unexpected sight. The tomb is completely empty. This wasn't the work of grave robbers. It had been deliberately emptied long ago. The reason soon becomes clear. The tomb, built beneath a waterfall, had been flooded just a few years after King Thutmose III's burial. To protect the royal remains, the tomb's contents were carefully moved to another, safer location. That explains the presence of a second corridor, likely constructed specifically for the purpose of relocating King Thutmose II's body from his waterlogged tomb. Despite the damage caused by the flood, the excavation team unearths some truly remarkable discoveries. They find fragments of mortar adorned with intricate blue inscriptions, shimmering yellow stars, and pieces of the Book of Amduat, one of the most important texts in ancient Egypt. This sacred book served as a guide for the deceased, leading them through the perils of the underworld and ensuring their safe passage to the afterlife. Now, let's journey back in time to the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt. This was an era defined by the relentless pursuit of conquest, the expansion of the empire, and the construction of awe-inspiring monuments. Among the most prominent figures of this period were Thutmose I and Thutmose III, both legendary warrior kings who left an indelible mark on history. Thutmose I was a formidable fighter, leading major military campaigns that pushed Egypt's borders further south than ever before, reaching the fourth cataract of the Nile. His victories opened up new trade routes, strengthened political alliances, and brought immense wealth to Egypt. The significance of his conquests was so profound that they were meticulously recorded in the tombs of his most important officials. Thutmose III, often referred to as Thutmose the Great, surpassed even his predecessor. He was not only an exceptional military strategist, but also served as the commander of Pharaoh Hatshepsut's armies before ascending to the throne himself. Throughout his reign, he led between 17 and 20 military campaigns, achieving victory in every single one and expanding Egypt's empire to its greatest extent. He even established the world's first navy. Thutmose III is widely regarded as Egypt's greatest warrior pharaoh. Sandwiched between these two titans was Thutmose II, a pharaoh who often fades into the background. His reign lasted a mere 5 years before his death around the age of 30 in 1479 BCE. He remained something of an enigma, his accomplishments largely unknown. For a long time, even the location of his burial site was a complete mystery. His body was eventually discovered in the 19th century, found in the mortuary temple of Deir el-Bahri, hidden in a secret chamber where priests concealed royal mummies centuries after their original tombs had been plundered by grave robbers. This discovery suggests that Thutmose II's body had been moved from its original resting place at some point in history, likely to protect it from further desecration. Despite his relatively short reign, Thutmose II made at least one significant impact on Egyptian history. He married his half-sister, Hatshepsut. This union, while seemingly commonplace for the time, paved the way for Hatshepsut to become one of Egypt's most powerful female pharaohs after his death. However, there was a catch. Hatshepsut kept her stepson, the future Thutmose III, from the throne for decades. When he finally ascended to power, he spitefully erased her name from history. Despite this attempt at obliteration, Hatshepsut remains one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, regardless of gender. she brought immense wealth and artistic flourishing to Egypt. She led a major trading expedition to a land called Punt, returning with treasures like gold, ebony, and incense. She also ensured her legacy by commissioning the construction of magnificent structures that still stand today. At Karnak, she added colossal obelisks, one of which still towers over the landscape. She also built the magnificent temple of Deir el-Bahri, with its countless columns and stunning architecture. It was here that she was eventually buried. Interestingly, Hatshepsut was often depicted in art as a man, with muscles and a beard, in the traditional style of pharaohs. However, she always ensured that there was something in the artwork that reminded people of her true gender, such as referring to herself as the daughter of Ra, or His Majesty herself. When she died in 1458 BCE, Egypt would not see another female ruler as powerful as her until Cleopatra, some 400 years later. According to Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities Secretary General, Hatshepsut's name actually appears in Thutmose III's tomb, suggesting that she may have even overseen his burial. As for their final resting places, Hatshepsut was buried in the Valley of the Kings and Thutmose II's. Now residing in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization alongside other ancient Egyptian rulers lies a mummy, offering visitors an extraordinary glimpse into the life of a nearly forgotten pharaoh. Imagine standing before the preserved remains of a figure who once commanded armies and shaped the destiny of an ancient kingdom. Experts today hail the discovery of his tomb as one of the most pivotal archaeological finds in recent years. The artifacts unearthed within its walls provide crucial insights into the history of the region and the reign of Thutmose II. While the tomb's design is relatively simple, echoing the architectural preferences of later Egyptian rulers, its historical significance is undeniable. We are transported back in time, piecing together the puzzle of a long-lost era. But the mission is far from over. Archaeologists are now consumed by another enigma, the whereabouts of the tomb's missing contents. The team remains steadfast in their pursuit, driven by the tantalizing possibility of unearthing further secrets that have slumbered beneath the sands for millennia. What untold stories await discovery, locked away in the embrace of time? The very word mummy might conjure images of the eerie figures from horror films, sending a shiver down the spine. But let's put aside those cinematic fantasies. In reality, mummies have proven to be invaluable keys to understanding ancient civilizations, their rulers, and the poignant ways in which people coped with the profound experience of loss. The ancient Egyptians are, without a doubt, the most renowned mummy makers in the world. They held a profound belief in the possibility of an afterlife contingent upon meeting specific criteria. This conviction fueled their dedication to preserving the human body through the intricate process of mummification, placing the resulting mummy within a richly furnished tomb, a fully functioning apartment in the realm of the dead. But where did this belief originate? The answer lies in their deep connection to the natural world. They observed the cyclical rhythms of nature, the sun's daily ascent and the moon's nightly vigil, the resurgence of life in plants even after they appeared to wither and die. They also revered Osiris, the powerful spirit embodying the cycle of death and resurrection, believing he played a crucial role in this transformative process. To prepare for the afterlife, the ancient Egyptians meticulously followed specific rituals, most notably mummification, which involved the application of materials such as honey, resins, and incense to preserve the body. No mummy is more famous than that of King Tutankhamun, or King Tut. This young pharaoh ruled Egypt over 3,000 years ago. A major challenge in uncovering ancient royal tombs is the unfortunate reality that most have been plundered by grave robbers. Knowing that ancient rulers were buried with vast riches, these sites became tempting targets for thieves. The opening of King Tut's tomb in 1922 sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Unlike so many other royal tombs, it had remained remarkably untouched by looters, a testament to its ingenious concealment. Inside, his mummy rested within 3 nested coffins, including one crafted entirely of solid gold. Imagine the gleam of that precious metal, untouched for millennia. The artifacts discovered within the tomb provided a breathtaking window into the world of ancient Egypt. Studying his mummy also revealed insights into the culture and customs prevalent during his lifetime. Even his DNA held secrets, revealing that he suffered from malaria and a foot ailment that may have hampered his ability to walk. Ramses II, another prominent Egyptian pharaoh, reigned for an impressive 68 years, a remarkable feat in ancient times. He was celebrated for his military campaigns and ambitious construction projects. Many artifacts from his reign survive to this day, including a colossal statue depicting him in all his glory. Ramses II stood approximately 6 feet tall and lived to the age of 90. Examining his mummy, scientists concluded that he likely suffered from a spinal condition. Now, let's revisit those grave robbers. They are likely the reason why Ramses II was eventually found in a simple coffin within a secret collection of royal mummies at Deir el-Bahri, rediscovered in 1881. Fortunately, archaeologists were able to identify him through inscriptions on his burial wrappings, meticulously documenting his life and achievements. The mummification process itself was incredibly demanding, sometimes taking up to 70 days to complete. A specialized priest would recite sacred incantations while carefully handling the body, dehydrating it with a type of salt called natron. They then used linen and resin to restore a lifelike appearance and meticulously wrap the body in layers of cloth. The tomb held equal significance for the ancient Egyptians. The walls of King Tut's tomb, for example, were adorned with elaborate artwork depicting his journey to the afterlife, from his funeral procession to his passage through the underworld. The ancient Egyptians believed that everyone embarked on this journey after death, and they filled imagine stepping inside an ancient Egyptian tomb. It's not just a burial chamber, it's a launch pad for a spiritual journey. The deceased were interred with cherished possessions and vibrant paintings, all designed to aid their passage to the afterlife. The very walls of these tombs were adorned with spells, incantations drawn from sacred texts, collections of poems believed to guide the soul to its ultimate destination. This journey was of paramount importance, so food and drink were essential provisions. In the tomb of King Tutankhamun, archaeologists unearthed 36 jars of vintage beverages, alongside baskets overflowing with fruit. These offerings were intended to sustain the young pharaoh on his long voyage to eternity. The Egyptians envisioned this journey as lengthy and arduous, necessitating ample supplies to nourish their departed loved ones. Pharaohs, naturally, were provisioned with luxurious garments and dazzling jewelry, ensuring they would arrive in the afterlife in impeccable style. Linen clothing, tunics, scarves, gloves, headdresses filled their wardrobes. And then there was the gold jewelry studded with precious stones. Bracelets, buckles, pendants, necklaces, rings, even protective amulets shaped like sacred insects. Fans crafted from ivory and adorned with ostrich feathers were included to provide a welcome respite from the heat of the underworld. Some rulers were even entombed with entire boats. Pharaoh Khufu, for example, commissioned the Great Pyramid at Giza as his final resting place, and within its depths, a massive ship was discovered. King Tut, while lacking a full-sized vessel, was buried with numerous boat paddles, along with 3 magnificent chariots and a collection of walking sticks fashioned from precious materials. Perhaps he preferred to traverse the afterlife by land, not by water. Among the most intriguing artifacts found alongside ancient mummies are bottles containing fragrant oils and perfumes. If pharaohs were expected to be fashionable in the afterlife, surely they were also expected to smell divine. And to provide a little amusement on their long journey, some were even buried with ancient board games, crafted from luxurious materials like gold and ivory. One such game, known as Senet, was immensely popular among the ancient Egyptians, bearing a striking resemblance to modern-day chess. While the ancient Egyptians may be the most famous practitioners of mummification, they weren't the originators of the practice. The tradition began in South America, with an ancient civilization known as the Chinchorro. As far as we know, these people were the first to mummify their deceased loved ones, roughly 2,000 years before the Egyptians adopted their own elaborate rituals. Studying mummies allows us to glean insights into the lives of ancient rulers, but until recently, their true appearance remained a mystery. However, archaeologists studying ancient Egyptian artifacts have made a remarkable discovery. Highly detailed mummy portraits, painted while the individuals were still alive. These portraits, often painted on wood rather than canvas, are renowned for their realism and beauty. Researchers have even used them to diagnose diseases by comparing them to the corresponding mummies. Some portraits depict the deceased adorned with jewelry that was later found within their tombs. The recent discovery of these mummy portraits in Central Egypt is a landmark event, marking the first such find in over a century. Mummies also appear in nature without human intervention. Natural mummification can occur in environments characterized by extreme cold or heat, a lack of oxygen, or exposure to chemicals that inhibit bacterial growth. These conditions prevent decomposition, allowing the body to remain remarkably intact. Otzi the Iceman is a prime example of a naturally occurring mummy. This man, who lived in Europe around 5,000 years ago, was discovered in the Alps in 1991. Initially, Austrian authorities believed him to be a modern mountaineer due to the exceptional preservation of his remains. However, after the Iceman was removed from the glacier, it was determined that he lived during the Copper Age. Consider the pyramids of Egypt. Thousands of years ago, long before the advent of cranes, engines, or electricity, the ancient Egyptians accomplished one of the greatest architectural feats in history. The sheer scale of these structures is mind-boggling. Massive stone blocks, some weighing as much as a modern SUV, rise to heights exceeding 200 feet. The pyramids seem so impossible that some even speculated about extraterrestrial involvement in their construction. However, recent research suggests that the secret to their construction lies in a far more earthly solution. The Egyptians likely employed a massive water-based elevator system to transport the heavy stones used in their first pyramid, the Step Pyramid of Djoser. Imagine, nearly 5,000 years ago, a civilization rising from the sands, driven by ingenuity and ambition. The question immediately arises: where did they find the colossal quantities of water needed for their grand construction projects, right in the heart of the arid desert? Some researchers propose that the Sahara, millennia ago, enjoyed a climate with far more frequent rainfall than it does today. The landscape would have resembled a verdant savanna, not the desolate desert we know. Therefore, it's plausible that sufficient natural water existed to power a hydraulic lifting system. Within the first stone pyramid, archaeologists have unearthed deep vertical shafts. By employing a sophisticated computer model, incorporating data on the pyramid's remaining internal components, and the network of underground tunnels at the site, they've pieced together a fascinating theory. The team also utilized high-resolution satellite imagery to factor in historical rainfall patterns. The theory suggests that the ancient Egyptians would place massive stone blocks atop floating wooden platforms, resembling rafts. Slowly, they would fill the shafts with water. As the water level rose, it would lift the platform and the immense stone block upwards, functioning like an ancient elevator. This remarkable process is known as hydraulic lifting. Intriguingly, the concept mirrors the operation of some modern machinery. However, imagine the Egyptians executing this feat, if they indeed did, with the most rudimentary tools, yet possessing a profoundly advanced understanding of hydrodynamics. They would have needed to meticulously regulate the water flow into each shaft, raising the stone blocks incrementally and halting precisely at the required level to maneuver the stones into their final positions. Scientists are now keen to determine whether this represents the earliest large-scale hydraulic system or if predecessors existed before the Egyptians. However, not all scholars fully embrace this hypothesis. Some argue that there is a lack of direct evidence, such as contemporary writings or diagrams, unequivocally proving the use of a hydraulic lift system by the Egyptians. Regardless of the exact method employed, one aspect remains irrefutable. The individuals who engineered the step pyramid were genuine geniuses. They devised methods to transport colossal stones to the pyramid's apex with astonishing precision, employing techniques that continue to astound experts today. To the west of the pyramid, archaeologists have uncovered indications of a man-made lake or reservoir. It is believed that the Egyptians might have created this temporary lake, employing channels or canals to convey water towards the pyramid. The pyramid itself may have been encircled by a moat, facilitating the channeling of water into the vertical shafts. Furthermore, a colossal stone structure in proximity could have functioned as a dam, storing and purifying water in the quantities demanded. In fact, research indicates that a staggering 31 pyramids were likely constructed along a long-lost ancient branch of the Nile River. This branch now lies concealed beneath desert sands and agricultural lands. For years, archaeologists have surmised that the ancient Egyptians must have utilized a nearby waterway to transport materials, equipment, personnel, and other necessities for pyramid construction. However, until recently, the precise location, form, size, and proximity of this waterway to the pyramid sites remained uncertain. Using radar, satellite imagery, historical maps, geophysical surveys, and sediment coring, scientists have successfully mapped this ancient river branch. They believe that a massive drought, combined with relentless sandstorms, buried it thousands of years ago. Remarkably, they were able to penetrate the sand's surface and capture images of hidden features. Thanks to advanced radar technology, the team discovered concealed rivers and ancient structures nestled at the foothills where the majority of ancient Egyptian pyramids stand. The discovery of this extinct river branch could elucidate the high concentration of pyramids between Gaza and Lisht in what is currently an inhospitable region of the Sahara Desert. And if that wasn't remarkable enough, the area appears to have featured a sophisticated water filtration system. It seems they constructed it using a sequence of stone compartments strikingly similar to modern water treatment facilities. Therefore, the Egyptians likely weren't simply filling the shafts with untreated water. They were potentially managing and purifying it, ensuring its cleanliness and regulating the flow to prevent damage to the pyramid or flooding of the surrounding area. Water transportation presents a multifaceted challenge, but even seemingly basic aspects, such as the number of sides of the Great Pyramid of Giza, can still hold surprises. It is not 4, as one might logically assume. Nor is it 5 or 3. It is, in fact, 8. In 1926, a British pilot, soaring above the pyramid, captured aerial photographs that officially confirmed this. From that elevated perspective, he observed that each of the pyramid's 4 faces is subtly indented down the middle, from top to bottom. These shallow inward depressions effectively divide each face into 2 halves. Imagine standing beside the Great Pyramid of Giza, an imposing monument, a testament to ancient ingenuity. But look closer. Something subtle, almost imperceptible, sets it apart. From the air, a slight indentation becomes visible on each side, transforming the pyramid's shape into something akin to an octagon. This wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate design choice that may have contributed to the structure's remarkable stability over the past 4,500 years. This subtle inward slope, coupled with an incredibly robust base, could have been the key to withstanding countless natural disasters. Think of earthquakes, torrential rains, and the relentless pressure exerted by the pyramid's own colossal weight. This architectural marvel has likely weathered over 500 severe rainstorms in its existence. The angled layers of stone may have even grown stronger over time, like a screw tightening with each turn. Had the pyramid been constructed with perfectly flat level layers, it might have succumbed to the elements long ago, crumbling under the weight of centuries. But the mysteries surrounding the pyramids don't end there. Recent revelations suggest the existence of a vast, ancient city hidden deep beneath the sands. 2 scientists have come forward, claiming to have utilized a novel method of interpreting data from synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, a technology that functions like X-ray vision for the Earth. Satellites typically employ this technology to peer beneath the surface, and these scientists assert that they've used it to identify massive structures more than a mile beneath the Pyramid of Khafra at Giza. The findings are astounding. 8 deep shafts, encircled by spiraling pathways, all converging upon 2 colossal cube-shaped chambers, each nearly 300 feet wide. Above these shafts lie 5 additional structures, interconnected by a network of tunnels. Could this be the remnants of a prehistoric subterranean city, or perhaps even an ancient power station? The notion of hidden chambers beneath the pyramids isn't entirely new. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus alluded to such secrets long ago. Similar rumors resurfaced during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. In the 20th century, an American psychic claimed to have discovered a hall of records buried beneath Giza. However, this latest claim carries more weight, as it originates from scientists with legitimate credentials and doctorates who claim to have pioneered a new scanning technique. Yet, skepticism remains. The technology they employ hasn't been officially validated or subjected to rigorous testing. Their reconstructions are based on theoretical interpretations rather than concrete evidence. Critically, their claims don't align with the existing archaeological understanding of the area, derived from actual excavations. Therefore, until solid, peer-reviewed evidence emerges, the idea of a lost city beneath the pyramids will remain just that, an intriguing yet unproven idea. And so, the question lingers. How did the ancient Egyptians manage to construct these awe-inspiring pyramids? Their resources, at least by our modern standards, were remarkably limited, particularly in terms of tools and building materials. The definitive answer continues to elude us, but we have some compelling theories to consider. One prominent theory posits that the Egyptians employed a clever construction strategy. Imagine them erecting a sloping, winding ramp made of bricks, earth, and sand, encircling the pyramid as it rose. As the pyramid grew taller, they simply extended the ramp's height and length, like a colossal ancient game of Jenga. But how did they hoist those massive stone blocks to such heights? According to Herodotus, they utilized sleds, rollers, and levers, transforming the construction process into a monumental tug-of-war. Herodotus also famously stated that the Great Pyramid of Giza took a staggering 20 years to complete, requiring the labor of 100,000 men. Could that be possible? It might not be as outlandish as it sounds. These men were likely primarily farmers, dedicating their efforts to the pyramid during periods of agricultural inactivity, such as the Nile's flood season. Naturally, the archaeological community has offered its own insights. By the late 20th century, evidence began to suggest that the workforce might have been smaller and more permanent than previously believed. Instead of a massive army of 100,000 laborers, a more modest crew of around 20,000 workers, supported by bakers, physicians, and even spiritual leaders, could have accomplished the task. Another, more unconventional theory suggests that the pyramids were constructed from the top down,